Beauty and disability. I interviewed 3 separate people, plus I asked myself the same interview questions. I got the male perspective, the female perspective, the mental handicap, and I stepped in as the physical handicap on that perspective. Um, I felt we all kind of had an opinion that would be important to understand the differences between how we each felt. So I asked the same standard of questions, little variances here and there when a question came up to an answer. But my paper starts as this. Before I started this class, I felt all alone in accepting my beauty. My giant smile, my thoughtful eyes, and being able to look beyond my physical and mental scars. As I sit here with my anxiety running high, waiting for my interviewees to settle in and we prepare to start, I hope that through this process, I will be able to teach them a little something as well as learn. And I think I learned a lot more from these 3 varied people. So my male perspective is Ted Coffey, he's a personal assistant. And the interview is as follows. When you think of beautiful women, what do you imagine? His answer, vivacious, buxom, curvy, intelligent, trustworthy. And when you think of beauty, do you ever imagine someone with a disability? He said yes. I dated a girl with MS, and I never questioned how I felt. She was beautiful to me. So if you were introduced to a person with a mental disability and became aware of it after you started to date, would you continue to date them? Very honestly, he answered, no. I have seen relationships where one person was bipolar, and I wouldn't be able to handle the up and down personality. One day explosive, the next day sweet. And the final question was, are you more likely to accept a date from a quote-unquote normal person than you would a disabled person? His answer was either way. If I find them attractive, then I will go out with them. There's more to a person than physical beauty. Now, my female perspective, Ricky Lynn Bullock, she's a stay-at-home mom. And the same set of questions were asked of her. And her answers, being a young mother, kind of surprised me. I guess, like I said, I learned a bit today. So, when you think of beauty in a human, what do you imagine? And she said, blue eyes, brown hair, personality, someone who makes me laugh. And I said, when you think of beauty, do you ever imagine somebody with a disability? She said yes. She says, I don't think anybody's ugly unless maybe you're a drug addict and you've let yourself go. I think that's more of a trait than a disability. But I understand exactly where she's coming from on that. So I continue with, if you were to be introduced to a person with a mental disability and became aware of it after you had dated, would you continue to date them? She said, why? She said, yes, I'm sorry. I asked why, and she said there's nothing wrong with them. Ryan is bipolar, and Ryan is her husband. And I said, if you weren't with your husband, were you more likely to accept a date from a normal person? Or would you accept a date from the disabled person? And she said, no, that she feels she should give everybody a chance, and that it's the right thing to do. So I followed up with, why would it be the right thing to do? She said simply, because they already feel bad. Now, Jewel Lynn Down, she's a student. She's my mental disability viewpoint. And she's 18. And I was really surprised by some of her answers. And it's the same questioning. When you think of beauty in a human, what do you imagine? She said, oh, their eyes, hair, their mannerisms, how they walk, how they talk. And I said, when you think of beauty, can you ever see somebody with a disability? She said, yes. Plain and simple, just yes. I waited for a continued answer, but she never did. She just looked at me ready for the next question. And I said, if you were to be introduced with a person with a mental disability and became aware of it after you had dated, would you continue to date them? Her answer was simple, yes. I'm bipolar, so I can't judge. I would want someone to give me a chance. I followed up with, because you are bipolar, do you think you're more likely to accept a date from a disabled person than from a quote unquote normal person? Her answer was yes. I followed up with why. She said, I don't know, but I feel that I could relate and be supportive to them, make them feel better about themselves. The relationship, she feels, could be strong. Now, the physical disability I decided to do myself. I'm a student. And when I asked myself these questions, I had to be honest. So, when I think of beauty, what do I imagine? And my own answer surprised me. It's hard for me to see beauty. When I think of a beautiful person, I tend to look for flaws. I think it's because I want somebody to see my flaws and see a beauty in them. As you can tell, I got a scar here, and there's so many you can't even see. But even in a market, I think everybody can see them. And do I think of beauty when I see a disability? I do. I do see beauty in disability. I see triumph. Their smiles, their laughter, the way they just challenge life and they conquer it at all times. And it's amazing to me. And if I were introduced to a person with a mental disability and became aware of it after we started dating, could I continue to date them? This was probably one of the hardest questions to answer. And sounding extremely selfish? No. Horrible as it may sound, I have to be honest. And besides the physical disabilities that I have, I also I'm PTSD. I have anxiety, depression, and most days it's extremely hard for me to talk myself into surviving for that day. Talk myself into putting a smile on my face, getting up, brush my teeth, shower, and face the world. To have to carry that burden and that rock on my shoulders and then add somebody else's, I don't think I would be able to survive. Am I more likely to accept a date from a quote unquote normal, beautiful person rather than a disabled person? I answered, I don't know. I would like to think either way. I would want to get to know that person, but I am not sure I will. Um, I think because I'm so self-conscious of my own disabilities, my scars, it's hard for me to see what people contribute or what people consider, you know, beautiful or handsome or chiseled or perfect. Um, I think I'd sabotage the relationship just based on the fact that I am so flawed that I would have a hard time letting them touch me, letting them see me, and it's just something that I put on myself, really. But it would be hard. After the interview, we all kind of gathered on the porch and started talking. It's amazing how I thought many of the answers would differ from each other in a larger variance. But other than being more aware of our own disabilities, the answers are all the same for the most part. As we all sit outside and discuss the disability issue, I noticed we all start to open up a little bit more in our thoughts and feelings. As we talk, the story "Take with Food" by Kat Morin actually comes to mind, talking about anxiety, getting on a scale, How she preps for her visits is a subject that comes up, and you can see the uncomfortableness on Julian's face. I'm a big girl. Obviously, you can see that. My body doesn't process foods the way that it should, and so no matter what I do, I'm not losing the weight. My body just likes to store extra fat. So I hate the scale, and I hate the look on the nurse's face as well as the doctor's face when they look at the numbers on that scale. Julian is an 18-year-old girl. She's absolutely gorgeous. She doesn't believe so. She's bulimic. She weighs less than 100 pounds. And by the look on her face, she has more body shame than I do. She tells how she is afraid of the scale at the doctor's. But I think it's more the secret it's hiding for her, and more afraid of it telling the truth than anything else. I also started to talk again about different stories in the book, Cryptiques by Wood, and again the story of Palsy Skinny came up when it states that our culture standards definition of beautiful depends on preconceived notions about how the perfect body should be. The standard opinion of the group is that body fades. Ted Coffey said, "We all have flaws, and I would want somebody to go the extra mile for me." To sum up the paper, I have amazing people in my life. To know that I have people who care about what a person is rather than what they look like is truly a blessing. From, "Hey, beautiful lady, can I get your number?" to, "V, you're awesome." I know these people are one reason I have any confidence. It's continuously telling myself, pretty lady, that I am starting to feel like the pretty lady. I hope more people out there think the same and treat people for who they are and not because they are a normal perfect.